Welcome to today's webinar on ESTCP FY 2026 funding opportunities. My name is Laura Mack, and I will be moderating today's session. Before we get started in a few moments, I'm going to just cover a few logistical items. So first, today's broadcast will be listen only. We will have a Q&A session at the end of the presentation, but at any time you can submit a question using the Q&A box on the control panel located at the bottom of your screen. Please note that we will not be able to answer questions about specific proposal ideas or technologies during this webinar. We are going to prioritize questions that are generally applicable to all submitters. The audio and the presentation of today's session will be archived on the solicitation webpage in case you would like to refer to them in the future. So those will be available after the webinar today on the solicitation page, which will drop in a link in the chat. So today's speakers are Dr. Kim Spangler, the Executive Director of ESTCP, Dr. Andrea Leeson, the Deputy Director of ESTCP and the Environmental Restoration Program Manager, Dr. John Lascala, the Weapons Systems and Platforms Program Manager, who is actually not here today, but Kim will cover just a brief presentation of the topic areas under that program area. Kevin Hires, the Resource Conservation and Resilience and Natural Hazards Adaptation Program Manager, and Tim Tatro, the Installation Energy and Water Program Manager. Before I turn it over to Kim for some brief intro slides on both the programs, I would like to remind attendees that you can use the Q&A box on the bottom of your screen to submit questions at any time during the presentation. Over to you, Kim.
Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where everyone is located. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are always grateful to have the opportunity to speak with potential principal investigators on these webinars. As Laura mentioned, I'm Kim Spangler, the Executive Director for the co-managed programs CERTIP and ESTCP, and I'm really excited to talk about our FY26 ESTCP solicitation. As Laura mentioned, each of our program managers here will provide a bit more information about each specific solicitation, but first I'd like to provide a bit more background about ESTCP for those unfamiliar with the program and the impacts on the Department of Defense mission. Specifically today, we'll be talking about ESTCP. ESTCP is a really difficult acronym, but it stands for the Environmental Security Technology Certification Program. And if you look at all those words, they all have really important meanings. And I want to talk a bit about what this program means. So ESTCP demonstrates and validates technologies that sustain and advance capabilities at DoD installations. So the sustainment and the capability advancement are important, and the DoD installation piece of that is also really important. ESTCP specifically looks at reducing the technical cost and execution risks associated with novel technologies or approaches. Our technology demonstrations provide key unbiased cost and performance data that defense managers need to implement technologies on installations. And ultimately, this reduces the barriers to DoD adoption at scale. We did an analysis typically for a variety of reasons. Innovation programs within the Department of Defense usually have returns on investment of about 15 to 30 years. We see returns on investment in far shorter timeframes, which is, of course, of benefit to the Department of Defense, and I think is also really beneficial to the folks in the innovation community. I come from a basic research background, and we would expect very long timeframes typically for the work that we would do to find real adoption and implementation, and we've really significantly shortened those timeframes for ESTCP projects. Am I switching the slides? Nope, I'm still on the same slide. Okay, stay back on that one just for 1 second. Very briefly, as I mentioned, ESTCP is managed alongside its partner program, the Strategic Environmental Research and Development Program. The key item here is that ESTCP is our more mature advanced technology and demonstration and validation programs. SERDP is the basic and applied research. Often technologies from SERDP are transitioned into ESTCP, but that is not the only pipeline. Now we can go to the next slide, please. So SERDP and ESTCP are housed under the Office of the Assistant Secretary of Defense for Energy, Installations, and Environment, which means that we as innovation programs work hand in hand with our implementation partners for installation energy, restoration, conservation, and natural hazards work. Our projects provide the key data and technology capabilities that allow the DoD leadership to shape guidance and instruction aimed at increasing the resilience of our military installations, protecting natural infrastructure that's abundantly critical to test and training operations, and improving the quality of life and readiness of our servicemen and women. It is an excellent relationship that we have that ensures that implementation decisions are both informed and supported by the innovation work that we are doing within ESTCP. The Department of Defense has a tremendous footprint with our installations. There are over 320 military bases that span a really diverse range of geographic regions in the United States. And as a result, the energy and environmental challenges are varied, especially I'm sitting here up in the mid-Atlantic and it's cold and snowy here, and that's not the case perhaps in Florida or out in the desert Southwest, or it's even colder and snowier in other parts of the country. And it's wetter here or drier in other places. So bottom line, of course, the CONUS US itself has a really diverse landscape on our installations. For this reason, our portfolio matches the breadth and scope of these issues. So we're looking primarily at technologies that restore and protect test and training lands. We look at energy solutions that strengthen installations against disruptions to the commercial electric grid. And of course, we're looking at the conservation of the vast acres of DoD lands that are entrusted to us by the American public. It's also important that our innovation investments drive significant time and cost savings. So that ensures that we can redeploy capital to other mission critical areas. Excuse me. So we have our program, or our investments are chunked out into 6 program areas. This is a way that we can best manage these. I'm going to provide a very quick overview of each of these program areas, and then the program managers will cover the rest. The environmental restoration program area in FY25 and looking forward is focused on managing PFAS and other emerging chemicals of concern in the environment. The resource conservation and resilience program area focuses on sustaining the 27 million acres that I referenced earlier of installation natural infrastructure that we use for test and training ranges, for housing our military men and women, for conducting research. And this area also looks at the critical nearshore environments or the environmental security threats to the military mission globally beyond, the US CONUS borders. The weapons systems and platforms program area focuses on reducing the environmental impact of DoD operations related to systems and platforms. So that could be weapons, that could be planes, that could be ships, tanks, etc. And then we're also looking at improving the chemical and material resilience of these platforms as it relates to their operations and maintenance. The munitions response program area focuses on managing unexploded ordnance in the underwater environment. So this can include ponds, lakes, rivers, estuaries, and coastal ocean areas. And of course, you can envision across the United States, these are vast and varied. After several years of successful investment, we are currently transitioning technologies to end users through a series of test sites and live site demonstrations. I'm excited for John Jackson to talk about that. And then the Installation, Energy, and Water Program area demonstrates and validates technologies that enhance resilience against disruption to energy and water infrastructure. If you consider an installation and the energy and water systems, they prevent a really large surface area in terms of the power lines and the water lines that we need to ensure are available on our installations. And then finally, our Natural Hazards Adaptation Program area looks at demonstrating innovative innovative and cost-effective technologies and methodologies to ensure DoD installations can withstand and recover from events such as earthquakes, hurricanes, floods, and wildfires. And, of course, more than ever, we understand the very seriousness of these natural hazards and how that impacts the nation, of course, and the Department of Defense. At this point, I'll hand it over to Dr. Leeson. Andrea is the Deputy Director for Startup and ESTCP, as well as the Environmental Restoration Program the Program Manager. She's going to speak more about the solicitation and the process. Over to you, Andrea.
Great, thanks, Kim. So what I'd like to first do is I'll talk in more general terms about the solicitation that we've got released right now. And then we're going to go into some specific overviews of the various topic areas, and each program manager will cover their topic area. So we do fund in these three broad categories, entities that lie within the Department of Defense, other federal organizations, and then our private sector, which includes universities, consulting firms, etc. And I'll talk a little bit about how the solicitations vary for these three organizations. Next slide, please. So the goals of the program is, primarily what we're doing is we're meeting the needs of the DoD user community. We are looking to demonstrate our innovative technologies, both in environmental and installation energy technologies, so that we can capitalize on any past investments, whether under CERTIP or other organizations, and transition that technology out of the lab or the bench scale and into the field, or at least broader commercialization. And one of the primary goals in ESTCP is to promote implementation of those technologies so that we can gain regulatory acceptance or direct technology insertion, depending on what topic area we're looking at. Next slide. So the demonstrations that we're looking at, we want demonstrations of technologies that can significantly benefit from a demonstration on a DoD installation so that it's approaching close to full scale. And then we want the demonstration to really look at in great detail the cost and performance of that technology so that we are able to report those results so that users can make an informed decision about the technology for their site. And ultimately, that information that's gathered is used to accelerate the commercialization of the successful technologies, as well as the broader adoption of those technologies throughout the DoD or beyond. Mature commercial technologies that are already in use or have very well established operational cost and performance criteria are really not appropriate for demonstration and validation under ESTCP. We are looking at technologies that really need that last step to get to that point. Next slide. So the broad methodology for ESTCP is it's very important to us to develop partnerships with various users of the technology, including the regulatory community, as well as other end users, and test these technologies at DoD facilities. And this will generally lead to direct transition of the successful technologies. We validate that cost and performance data under operational conditions, and we have an independent test and evaluation process set up where we have experts in the field reviewing data that is generated by the technology developers. And then we also are looking for the DoD market opportunities. We work with the funded performers to help identify those market opportunities and accelerate technology transfer. Next slide. Requirements of our projects, and I would like to say that these sorts of requirements are also available on our website, and I'll talk about this as we're going through. Really, the cornerstone of our technology demonstrations are our formal demonstration plans, and you can see the guidance for these demonstration plans on our website. I think it's very helpful for people who are proposing to take a look at what we require in a demonstration plan, because that can help you determine what you need to include in the proposal. But we do ask for very detailed performance objectives, and all of our demonstration plans undergo an external review, external from the project team. Of course, we have execution of the technology demonstration when there's a thorough cost and performance data collection. We have a written final report that covers both the technical performance as well as the cost. And you can also see guidance for our final reports on our website. And you can see a number of examples of final reports on our website as well. We post everything on our website once it's complete and has been reviewed. And then we have that support for transition. Very important to us to have that piece of the technology transition so that what we've learned in a project will get transitioned, so that the technologies will be more broadly utilized. Next slide. So this is roughly the proposal selection process. So start on the left side of the screen, and then we'll move to the right side of the screen. But at the end of the calendar year, we develop the different topic areas that are based on DoD needs, or they're not or, but it dovetails together that we have clearly identified paths that may have arisen from CERTIP efforts, and the technical objectives are outlined in the topic areas that are published. And we're going to go over the specific ones that have been released this year at the end of this presentation. In January, we released the solicitations. We released a DoD solicitation, a broad agency announcement. I'll just call that BAA, and that's for the private sector. And then we have a call for non-DoD federal agencies. So that's where we are now. And that was released last week, I believe. We first asked for pre-proposals. They're a 5-page white paper. The intent of that is to be less effort than a full proposal, so that we can make sure you're on the right track before we ask for all the detailed information that comes in a full proposal. Those pre-proposals don't require a formal costing in them, so it is much easier to pull together. It just requires a broad cost estimate. These pre-proposals are reviewed by ESTCP and our technical committee. From there, we will request full proposals based on some subset of the pre-proposals received. For projects that are outside of the DoD, a private sector, or even a non-DoD federal agency, we will assign a DoD liaison, so that if you don't have those kind of contacts within the DoD, you will have that liaison who can assist you with making the kind of contacts you need to develop a short list of sites that would be appropriate for your technology demonstration. Full proposals are then, now they're a 15-page proposal plus a full cost proposal along with that. We also often with those pre-proposals will make recommendations where you might need to modify the full proposal. So you'll get that when we request a full proposal. And then all of those full proposals are reviewed by ESTCP and the technical committee as well. And again, there is another down select where not a down select, all of those full proposals then also will come in and give an in-person presentation to ESTCP and the technical committee, generally in September. Selections are in October, and those final selections are based on the reviews that occur in September with the TC and staff, the PM, program manager recommendation, and then finally director approval. Next slide, please. So here are the solicitation dates. So we're just after when it was released, 10 days ago on January 7th. Pre-proposals are due March 6th. This is a really hard and fast date and time. They must be submitted online by 2 p.m. Eastern time on March 6th. All the directions for that are in the instructions that were released with the solicitation. Full proposals are generally requested in the June timeframe. That's giving us the time we need to conduct the internal reviews. Full proposals are due in August with briefings before the technical committee in September. Project selection then will be complete by October, and then project initiation, we ask for folks to plan on spring 2026, which is generally an estimate, because for private sector, you'll need to go through the contracting process, and that could be plus or minus spring, but will certainly happen within 2026. Next slide. So selection criteria, these criteria are listed in the instructions, but just to walk through them with you. The first two listed here are pass-fail criteria. First, most importantly, is the relevance. Has the proposed effort met what is being asked in the topic areas? It is very important that you are very clear that you are meeting the topic area that was released and the objectives that are listed there. We do try to be very clear on those topic areas in terms of what we need to see in a proposal. We also have a pass-fail criterion if this is a technology that's appropriate for demonstration. So as I mentioned earlier, a technology that is already commercially available with well-established cost and performance data is not applicable to ESTCP. We are looking for technologies that are not quite there yet and need this kind of demonstration to establish that cost and performance data before it can go to a commercialization level. And then these last four bullets here are to look at technical merit, cost and benefit, transition potential, and then cost itself. Technical merit is by far the most heavily weighted, and we are looking in great detail at the technical merit, but these three other factors are also issues that we look at. Next slide. So hallmarks of a competitive proposal. What we're looking for is a proposal, pre-proposal, that clearly addresses the topic area, that we can see that you understand the topic area that was released and are proposing an effort that will address the issues identified in the topic area. We want well-defined demonstration questions so that it's very clear what your demonstration will need to accomplish. Technically sound, that we understand the technology that will be demonstrated. There are very well-defined performance objectives with a detailed technical approach. And these sections where you're defining your performance objectives and you're defining the technical approach, this should really make up the bulk of your proposal. We're also looking that there is a significant benefit of the technology, that it will be more cost-effective than options out there now, that there's improved performance over options out there now, and that there is a significant environmental or installation energy impact to the DoD mission. Next slide. So what we'd like to do now is we're going to cover the topic areas that were released this year. Next slide. And I'm going to cover a general interest topic area. I did want to mention too is that within each topic area, you will see a point of contact for that particular topic area. So if you have questions that don't get answered during this call, please reach out to the program manager who is identified with the topic area. And they will just drop them an email. They'll be happy to answer questions. They can answer questions very specifically on the process or something you might not have understood in the topic area. What they cannot do is vet your idea for you. So if you send an email in asking, stating that you have a particular idea, is this appropriate? We really can't answer that sort of question within an open solicitation. So, but if you have, if you'd like to understand better why the topic area is structured the way it is, or there's something that's not clear, we can answer those kind of questions. Next slide. So the first topic is a more broad applicability to all the program areas. And we have instructed as well, the DoD, you can take a look at this topic area. And if you have a technology you would like to propose that addresses this topic area, that would be great. But what we're looking for are these innovative technology transfer approaches. I cannot stress enough how important this is, that when we develop a successful technology, the next piece that is as important is transitioning that technology. And we get new methods that can be used for technology transfer every day. What we're trying to do is think a little more broadly and really consider the best way to contact people as times are changing. Now, so many people are online and on Zoom, such as this call. So how could we transition technologies more appropriately, perhaps using some of these new tools? Next slide. I'll talk now about specific environmental restoration topic areas. Next slide. And we've got this first one that was released as part of the broad agency announcement, the BAA. And you will see this is a fairly broad topic area to deal with management of impacted soils and waters. Please take a look at this. We're really interested in funding the demonstration of technologies, or perhaps combination of different technologies, that it can increase the efficiency of the DoD's long-term management of our waters, groundwater, surface water, stormwater, et cetera, soils, aquatic sediments that have been impacted by chemicals of concern. If you go to the topic area itself, it will list the chemicals of concern that are, currently of interest to the DoD. And of course, if you've been working in this field, you know that PFAS is one of the major chemicals of concern we have been dealing with lately. We'll drop a link into the chat here that will take you to a landing page of everything that's been funded within our program area right now on addressing PFAS in the environment. And I think if you're going to propose in this area, it's a good idea to understand what we've already funded. Everything we fund gets its own everything. Every project we fund gets its own webpage on our site. So please poke around in there and you'll be able to see some of the work that's already been funded. But you can look through these specific objectives, but what we're really looking for is how better to combine existing or new technologies to address some of these complex sites we have. We're looking at new tools, methodologies, et cetera, for stormwater management and treatment, different modeling tools, et cetera. And really all of this ties into better management of these impacted soils and waters. Next slide. Then we have our call for proposals for DoD organizations. Next slide. Under environmental restoration. And you will see this topic then is available to those folks who work within the DoD. It's fairly broad, although the key really is similar to what we just discussed, and that is increasing the efficiency of our DoD's long-term management of waters, soils, and aquatic sediments impacted by chemicals of concern. And the same issue here is, really we're dealing with the issues associated with PFAS in the environment. But there are still other chemicals of concern that we do address. And these broad categories, there are 6 broad categories here to look at. But again, I wanted to mention that with the DoD, please also take a look at the technology transition topic, because that is also something you can address as a DoD employee. Next slide. So at this point, we're going to transition over to our munitions response program area. So I'm going to turn it over to John Jackson, Program Manager for Munitions Response. John?
Thank you, Andrea. I'm John Jackson, Program Manager for Munitions Response, and we can just jump to the next slide. So over the last few years, we've been transitioning slowly to where we are today, which is full support and prioritizing of the live site demonstrations. In the live site demonstrations, we're we're going to a series of test sites and real sites, either Navy or Army Corps, Army sites, where we can test and validate the mature technologies under the ESTCP program in an attempt to transfer them to full commercialization. So we are demonstrating validating UXO detection, classification, and localization systems, as well as the burial and mobility models in underwater environments at real world sites. So we've got three general categories under that. The first one is those detailed survey technologies. And what we're trying to accomplish there is provide technologies to the services, the end users, to facilitate better characterization and better remediation of the underwater munitions response sites. And ultimately, those decisions will help support regulatory and site management decisions. The next general category is burial and mobility models. We have a large research portfolio primarily under CERTUP that is transitioned into ESTCP, and we are attempting to close that out and validate that fully under ESTCP so that we can transition it to the end users and facilitate better understanding with the regulatory community through the Interstate Technology Regulatory Council. So that's the focus in that second category. And then in the third category, there's a lot of moving parts on the underwater technologies. As part of those moving parts is the need for a synthetic site, and a synthetic site that would take a lot of the acoustic underwater technologies, apply it to a randomized, completely randomized site that mimics real seabed types, real water salinities, real bathymetries, and then we can vary that as needed along with the signatures within that site. So that's a new general category for FY26. And the ultimate goal there is, again, to transfer that to the end users, the modelers, and a separate entity, the DoD Advanced Geophysical Classification Accreditation Program, who would probably take that over. Next slide, please. We also have a call for proposals for the DoD organizations. Next slide. There is nothing of unique interest here. We are also supporting the live site demonstrations and generally mirroring the broader topic area. So with that, next slide, and I would like to introduce the program manager, Mr. Kevin Hires.
Great. Thanks, JJ. A quick sound check just to make sure that everything is working properly.
Sounded good to me.
Okay. Next slide, please. Under the Natural Hazards Adaptation Program area, we have one broad agency announcement. It is looking for proposals that advance wildfire and prescribed fire forecasting and assessment tools. Specifically, we're looking for tools that and demonstration projects of those tools that forecast wildfire activities and or prescribed fire opportunities at DoD installation, relevant scales, spatial scales, for the time horizons of 1 to 10 years. These projects should look to accomplish one of the following: incorporating fire environmental conditions from this weather to climate forecasting time horizon, that 1 to 10 year horizon, to assess wildfire exposure and or prescribed fire burn window opportunities. Demonstrate proficiency in forecasting wildfire conditions for extreme weather, looking at a demonstration of demonstrate your accuracy of modeling against past fire activities, and demonstrate accuracy of modeling prescribed burn windows using that 1 to 10 year weather to climate forecasting window. And then lastly, we're looking for projects to incorporate high spatial resolution inputs of past fuel and vegetative conditions into future forecasting hazards. Next slide. I think we can just hit this twice, Laura. For DoD only applicants, we also have a broader opportunity to propose to demonstrate technologies and methodologies to ensure DoD installations can withstand and recover from events such as earthquakes, hurricanes, floods, and wildfires. These projects or proposals should look at preparedness and response to discrete, naturally occurring events or addressing recurring or ongoing risks posed by natural hazards. And of course, we encourage our DoD investigators also to propose to the broad agency announcement topic of advancing wildfire and prescribed fire forecasting tools. Next slide. Moving to the resource conservation and resilience program area. Our broad agency announcement includes 2 topics this year. Next slide. First, we're looking for proposals advancing measurement methods and modeling for military sound analysis. This remains one of the major encroachment issues facing military lands nationwide. We want projects to demonstrate and validate modeling and measurement of military mission sounds and effects on built and or natural environments for expedited analysis under environmental regulations. Projects can validate noise contours of existing tools under a variety of micrometeorological environments and vegetative cover found on DoD lands. It can demonstrate and validate best practice methods for measuring blast noise from large weapons or rockets and their noise propagation dynamics. Projects could determine the best metrics to identify biologically sensitive thresholds for effects from noise, overpressure, vibration on surrounding communities of both human communities or target wildlife species, and address how various mitigation actions reduce impacts of noise and sound on those targets. Next slide. The second topic under the Resource Conservation Resilience Program area is looking to integrate data integration analysis and visualization approaches for the stockpile of historic and real-time data sets for natural resource managers. There has been a tremendous amount of past investment in data acquisition in natural resources, cultural resources over many, many decades. And many times these data sets and data sources are not in digital format or discoverable. So we're looking for projects to develop innovative data integration analysis and visualization approaches that leverage historic and real-time data sets to enhance decision-making and predictive capabilities for natural resource managers. Specifically, we want projects to propose to develop innovative approaches for unified platforms and semantic interoperability to recover species or ecosystem monitoring data from past documents or past research and development efforts. And there's some listed documents there, examples of where these data might reside. We also would like for projects to develop automatic and efficient advanced data analytics and visualization approaches for analyzing recovered and real-time data through user interfaces that make those data accessible for applications at installation, regional, or service-wide scales. And that may include large language models or other AI tools. Next slide. So for our DoD-only organizations, we have one additional topic. Next slide. So besides encouraging them to apply for those broad agency announcement topics, we have one broad call for proposals for DoD performers only to demonstrate technologies that address natural resource monitoring or resilient natural infrastructure. This includes natural resource efforts focused on advanced or emerging monitoring methods and remote sensing technologies on DoD lands to improve the efficiency, scale, and accuracy of population or habitat assessments for T&E species, so certain endangered species or at-risk species, ecosystem health, and resilience or trends monitoring. Projects can include ecosystem resilience demonstrations and validation efforts, focusing on advanced tools, technologies, and methodologies for natural infrastructure required by the DoD for maintenance of capabilities, training, or testing. And with that, next slide. I'll turn it back over to Dr. Kim Spangler, who will be sitting in for Dr. John LaScala to present on the Weapon Systems and Platforms program.
All right, thanks so much, Kevin. So the Weapon Systems and Platforms program area that we often call WP has 3 BAA topics for FY26. Sorry, I'm just following along here. So the first topic is alternative cleaning methods and solvents for weapons, systems, and platforms maintenance activities. The objective of this topic area is to demonstrate and validate alternative cleaning methods to include for equipment, cleaning methods and or equipment, and alternative solvents for use in the maintenance cycle of DoD assets including cleaning and surface preparation and application and removal of adhesives, sealants, and coatings. These proposals should address key requirements for the technology, primarily focused on the sustainability, safety, performance, and life cycle requirements. When considering these proposals, one should look at whether or not the technology should reduce or eliminate chemicals with risk evaluations under TSCA, as well as chemicals of concern. Technology solutions must not use PFAS. The safety requirements should include low flammability and relative low impacts to human health so as to reduce PPE requirements. This will help to enable transition to depots. The requirements are application specific and should be specifically identified, and the technology must be validated against these requirements. The technology solution should cause no damage or degradation to the substrate material. If one chooses to propose an alternative cleaning piece of equipment, the equipment must be able to be scaled to the appropriate size and fit within DoD production lines. And the solution should be sustainable as determined by a sustainability analysis. If you look on our website, there's guidance for performing a sustainability analysis. Next slide, please. The objective of this next topic then is to demonstrate sustainable corrosion mitigation, pretreatments, coatings, or other corrosion mitigation solutions that decrease maintenance costs of DoD weapon systems and platforms. Under this topic area, we are specifically looking for a systems-based approach towards corrosion mitigation. So the key there is systems-based, where we're looking to make improvements beyond individual material and chemical technology developments. So what do we mean by this? So we're interested in looking at improved methodologies to join dissimilar materials, improved methodologies to reduce exposure of corrosion susceptible alloys to corrosive environments, materials with increased corrosion resistance, and corrosion resistant sealants and flexible primers that have shown an ability to reduce corrosion rates. And also these proposals should include a plan to conduct a sustainability analysis that I mentioned previously. Next slide, please. The objective of this next topic then is to demonstrate and validate prototype closed disposal technologies, or CDTs, for demilitarization of energetic materials. ESTCP is specifically interested in prototype photoreactors that utilize light to break down energetic materials, as well as prototype electrochemically assisted processes to break down energetic materials. When considering these proposals, the key requirements are the following. The viable CDT, the closed disposal technology, must be safe, scalable, and cost-effective. It should have increased treatment rates relative to existing state-of-the-art CDTs, and it should have operations and maintenance costs that are projected to be lower than existing CDTs. Similarly, these proposals should include a plan to conduct a sustainability analysis. Next slide, please. Next slide. We also have a general topic for DoD organizations. So broadly, we're interested in more sustainable technologies for our weapon systems and platforms. This includes repair and maintenance activities, such as uses of solvents, which I presented on a few slides ago, as well as the corrosion mitigation that we previously spoke about. In the area of energetics technologies, energetic materials technologies, we're interested in demonstrating and validating approaches for alternative materials and manufacturing processes for energetic materials, technologies to monitor and control emissions from energetic materials processes, And as we talked about before, viable closed disposal technologies for demill of energetics. Moreover, we're interested in demonstrating and validating refrigerants for DoD that are non-flammable and have minimal global warming potential. Novel refrigeration technologies that eliminate the need for HFCs that are mature may also be considered. We are also considering demonstration and validation of fluorine-free foam technologies, this is for DoD only, that most effectively extinguish fires, improve sustainability, and reduce the cost for shore-based fires, as well as demonstration and validation of fluorine-free foams that enable use of saltwater dilution. Lastly, we're looking for demonstration and validation of other technology areas that affect DoD weapon systems and platforms. As with all of the other topics under the WP area, the proposal should include a plan to conduct a sustainability analysis. Let me check here if we go to the next slide. I will now be turning it over to Tim Tatro to discuss the installation, energy, and water solicitations.
All right, thank you, Kim. Hello, everybody. For installation, energy, and water program area, we organized the program into kind of three main technology areas, titled first energy resilience, then we have building performance, and then finally water security. So the way we've been organizing our solicitation topics is following that technology area. We'll issue a broad topic under each of those technology areas, and then also accompany that with some targeted, more focused topics. So we'll go into the next slide, and I think we start with the energy resilience. So this is a topic that we've issued, kind of consistently over the past couple of years. And again, it's a broadly written topic seeking solutions to improve the energy resilience on our military installations. In particular, we're looking for solutions that help us identify or make kind of informed decisions about where we can make the most impactful investments. And so typical requirements or needs that we have are helping us with our analytical approaches. So making sure that we understand how to measure possibly the impact of an investment in terms of a system's energy reliability, its system reliability, and its availability to provide reliable power to critical loads. So with that, there's different solutions that we'd be generally looking for to improve our on-site generation of energy, so that we aren't necessarily relying 100% on the utility grids that serve and the other infrastructure serves our installations. We also have lots of infrastructure that we rely on to deliver that energy. And so understanding how can we improve our understanding of the current conditions of that infrastructure, identify any vulnerabilities in those systems, and make corrections where necessary. One key bullet point that I want to highlight here is that there's a well-established process that we follow that requires that installations identify issues like this and make plans for investments through their installation energy plans. And so, one thing we want to make sure that we are being aware of is kind of what is in those plans. And so if you are working with an installation or a service, we want to make sure that what we are funding is also consistent with what we're seeing in those installation energy plans. Additionally, we are also interested in solutions that can be implemented through innovative or kind of alternative financing mechanisms, like energy savings performance contracts or utility privatization, UESCs, things like that. All right, next slide. So the targeted topic under energy resilience is titled Digital Tools for Microgrid Design, Acquisition, and Lifecycle Management. So here we're seeking the demonstrations of solutions that are applying new digital tools, sometimes we refer to as digital twins, in ways that provide value throughout the life cycle or acquisition cycle for microgrids. So there may be different use cases that we want to understand how these tools could be used, possibly in early design stage, or possibly in the commissioning or sustainment of microgrids. We're expecting to make lots of investments in microgrids in the coming years, and we believe that these new advanced digital tools may offer some value to us, and not just in the design, but also, like I said, in the asset management over the life of that asset. In these projects, those who are selected, we will be providing data and information for the project teams to use. That data and information will be either anonymized or it will be from an actual microgrid that's in some stage of acquisition. It might be in current design stage within DoD, or it might be one that's operational. So depending on what the proposed use case is for these digital tools, we will strive to match up either a project that's currently in design or provide data from an actual operating microgrid to demonstrate the proposed value from these solutions. Next slide. Okay, this is the broad topic for building performance and energy efficiency. This is one we issued recently, and are basically seeking any solution that would help improve the energy efficiency or building performance of the wide variety of buildings that we have on our installations. Primarily, we're interested in reducing the cost or the utility costs from heating and conditioning, cooling our facilities. But we're also interested in making sure that the indoor air quality is maintained or improved through these facility upgrades. We do rely a lot on energy project development on our partners with energy services companies through energy savings performance contracts. So we highly encourage, where appropriate, to collaborate and maybe partner with energy services companies who we think are key stakeholders for the broader deployment of these technologies as they're validated through the program. Next slide. So first targeted topic under the building performance is moisture control and strategies for improved indoor air quality. Excuse me. For this topic, we have a lot of our installations are in warm and humid climates, and we have experienced some challenges with managing the moisture control in facilities. So we're looking for solutions to improve the approach that we're currently taking to condition our spaces, to make sure that we are reducing the infiltration of moisture within the occupied space, and looking for solutions to help us monitor moisture conditions in the facilities, so that we can earlier on identify where there might be some issues that may result later in significant cost for repair or possible remediation of mold. So we have a number of bulleted points down here that you can read through for specific objectives within the technologies that we're looking for. All right, next slide. So the next targeted topic under this broader building performance technology area is systematic approach to window retrofits in DoD buildings. We have a number of old buildings in our portfolio and very aware of lots of technology development that's taken place over the past several years to improve or provide more opportunities for cost-effective window retrofits. So we're seeking solutions that are able to be implemented with minimal disruption to occupants. So we were expecting these systems to be installed while the building is occupied. We were looking for solutions that also consider the indoor comfort. So there might be ways that we're able to improve the building envelope, so make the building itself more efficient, while also downsizing the mechanical systems in future retrofits. So we're looking for systematic analyses that would combine both a window retrofit investment with a planned replacement of an HVAC system to make the overall investment more cost effective. Again, here we want to highlight the importance of collaborating with utility energy or energy savings performance contractors, or ESCOs. It's not required that they are partnering, but that is a key transition partner. So we want to highlight that as well. Next slide. So this is our broad topic for water resilience on DoD installations. Here we are interested in understanding or looking for solutions to help us better evaluate water resources and availability of those critical resources, understand the current condition of our infrastructure, and help us make informed decisions about where investments would have the greatest impact to improve the water resilience and water quality. We also want to make sure that we're looking at solutions to help us look out over longer time horizons and understand what that might, what the long-term availability of water may have effect on our current planning and decision-making given our current budget plans. And we also had a bullet here in coordination with the Natural Hazards Program area, looking at the impacts of stormwater on our installation water infrastructure. So this could be a wide variety of solutions that we might anticipate to help us better plan for the kind of what we're witnessing or seeing as increased volume and frequency of storms and the challenges that that's presenting to our existing infrastructure. Next slide. This is the last focus topic in the water resilience is building scale water reuse technologies. So we're looking for technologies that focused on making better use of water at the building scale. We expect that any solution that might be presented here is it kind of considering the complexities associated with any potential control system cybersecurity that may be used on for the solution. We also want to make sure that any solution is considering the regulations that might be applied at the state level for any water reuse, understanding that that's that water reuse is a significantly regulated at the state level. So we believe that there's a lot of opportunity for making better use of water on installations and we are, yeah, I think that's, you can read through the rest of the bullets here. Next slide. Okay, so for DoD specific call for proposals, we have, again, a broad topic that's written to encourage solutions that fall under those three main technology areas. But we also encourage you, I think there's one more slide. Yeah. Encourage you to look at, to submit proposals that follow those topics that were just listed on the BAA. But generally speaking, we're seeking solutions, like I mentioned before, for secure and reliable energy and water installations, as well as improving building performance and energy efficiency. So keeping a wide topic here for all DoD potential proposers, understanding that there's a lot of innovation taking place within our DoD labs, and we're seeking their solutions to submit under the DoD topic here. With that, I think that wraps up the EW topics, and I think that ends our presentation of the topics, and we'll go into Q&A, and I'll hand it back to Laura, who I think will facilitate Q&A.
Yes, so I will read out the questions that we've received so far and direct them to the PMs. So just a reminder that we will be prioritizing questions that are applicable to all proposers and not questions that are specific to a proposal idea. So first, I'll direct a few general ones to Andrea. So are DoD partners and sites required to submit a full proposal?
So I think I'm assuming what you mean, that if you're like a co-performer on a project that is led by a private entity, are you required to submit the proposal? And the answer is no. There is just one proposal required per project team. And how we do that is the proposal would describe the whole team effort, but when you get into the costing of it, the federal performer, it has their own separate costing, and when funding goes out, a contract goes to the private entity, but the funding for the federal performer gets sent directly from ESTCP to the federal performer. So that's how that's handled.
Okay, and then just a quick reminder, if there are any munitions response related questions, I think I saw a couple come in. John Jackson, the program manager for MR, had to drop. So if you do have any questions related to that program area and those topics, you can feel free to reach out to him. All right, another general one for Andrea. Does a site need to be identified in the pre-proposal?
The site does not need to be identified in the pre-proposal. What we do need you to identify are the site parameters you need to conduct your technology demonstration. And then at the pre-proposal stage, if you are requested to submit a full proposal, we will connect you with a DoD liaison who can at least let you pull together a short list of potential sites. If you can identify a site, great, but if you can't, a short list by the full proposal stage is preferred.
All right, this question is for Kevin. Is there a master list of DoD installation natural resource managers available for proposals to consult in refining demonstration plans or identifying demonstration locations?
Unfortunately, there is not a master list. So in addition to the answer that Andrea just gave, you can sort of define those site parameters, and then if selected for a full proposal, we can help you find a service liaison. You can also on our website, check out the Innovation Landscape Network, which is an ESTCP sponsored accelerated tech transfer effort in several key DoD geographies, which may help you find contacts in a much more efficient way. And lastly, if there's a specific installation where you'd like to demonstrate and you don't have that natural resources contact, you can conduct that installation public affairs, and they can connect you with the proper professional on staff.
All right, another question regarding field demonstrations for Andrea. Often field demonstrations can require a longer period to prove effectiveness and perhaps across seasons. Is there a typical length for a project?
I would say we have average lengths of a project. We certainly understand that, you know, some projects just require longer amounts of time to be able to fully demonstrate a technology. For exactly the reason you said, you may need to look at it over certain types of seasons or wet, dry cycle, etc. I would say on average, the ESTCP projects run maybe 2 to 3 years. And I would say on average, annual cost can, you know, 200 to 400,000 per year, and that's going to cover some other questions we got on that. That is absolutely on average and can vary quite widely.
Okay, another question for you, Andrea. What percentage of pre-proposals are invited to submit full proposals?
We don't have any hard and fast rule there on the percentage. I would say, though, that again, average, probably about 50% of the pre-proposals submitted are then requested to submit a full proposal, but that will vary a little bit by year, and it's maybe 30 to 50% are asked, and that, you know, but it really is more based on technical quality and relevance to the DoD needs.
Okay. This is a question for Tim. Are there specific DoD installations of focus for the installation energy and water program area?
No, there are not. Yeah, I think it was mentioned before that, you know, once we get and request a full proposal, we have liaison that will help pair any project team up with a potential interested host site installation. So from the outset, we have not established any kind of preferential sites or preferred sites.
Okay, and then a couple more for you, Tim. Can proposals for energy and water resilience include community resilience of surrounding cities and communities that support the resilience of the base?
Yeah, that's a good question. You know, we realize that, you know, the installations are not standalone entities, and that, you know, they do require all the staff, and many families live within the local communities. And so we understand the relationship between the resilience of the surrounding community. So we appreciate the coordinated efforts of addressing questions of resilience with the community, but I don't know how would we fund a demonstration that might take place or provide investment outside of an installation at a local community. So yeah, we can collaborate, but, you know, the questions of whether we can invest in something, I think that's more difficult, at least through the program, through ESTCP.
And one more question for the energy program area. Is partnering with national labs allowed in energy, microgrid resilience, and energy efficiency projects?
Yeah, we have, I think, a number of projects related to microgrids have been conducted in coordination, collaboration with the lab. So yeah, that's encouraged, welcome, encouraged, whatever. Yeah.
Okay, a more general question for Andrea. If an investigator has already completed an ESTCP project and is applying for continued funding based on discoveries made, should they apply in the FY26 cycle, or is there another place to apply?
They can certainly apply during the regular cycle, but I would strongly encourage the investigator to be discussing this with their program manager to see if there's more appropriate ways to continue the project.
And another general question, is the innovative technology transfer approaches topic open to private sector organizations and academia?
It is, that is, I'm sorry, that is open to the private sector. It is actually a private sector topic area as well as a non-DoD federal topic area, but we also encourage the DoD folks who are interested in proposing to take a look at that topic area too.
Okay, thought I saw another energy question. So this is for Tim. What is the primary source of water for installations? Is there a breakdown for water resources across bases? Is this included in site-specific installation energy and water plans?
Yeah, so primarily well, there's a variety of water sources. So there's, maybe municipal water from surrounding community. There's on-site, wells, water treatment plants. So it kind of depends on the installation. I guess, for purposes of developing your pre-proposal, just, maybe consider that there's a variety of sources of water, and it may depend on which installation that ultimately you where the demonstration is conducted, that you will you may need to that would offer greater detail in the full proposal phase. So in pre-proposal, just consider a variety of sources. For full proposals, we would hope that you would be able to be paired up with an installation that could provide more information specific to that site.
This is a general question, but for Kevin, do the DoD only topics mean that the team members cannot be external to DoD, or that the lead for the proposal has to be DoD?
The lead to the proposal has to be DoD. They can, of course, have sub-awardees if required, but those are intended for DoD-led projects only.
Okay, and then I'll roll with another for you, Kevin. For test events that require military participation, for example, using munitions for measuring acoustic response, will recommendations on test sites or military collaboration be provided by ESTCP?
So, depending on the project and whether it's selected for full proposal consideration, we would leverage our liaisons on the technical committee to try to help each of those full proposal requested projects find a test site. That is not a guarantee of access or collaboration, however, and so successful proposals often come with their own, if they have very specific needs like that, come with their own contacts a priori, but we will leverage our liaisons to the best of our ability to make sure that those full proposals have a chance to find the sites that best meet their needs.
This is a general question for Andrea. Are the full proposal presentations in person or virtual? Are co-performers allowed to participate in the presentation?
The presentations are in person. We have in the past made some exceptions for virtual, but primarily if a performer is, for example, located outside the country, etc. Co-performers are able to participate virtually as well, although we do encourage anyone who will have a significant technical role in the proposal to attend in person.
Okay, this is a question for Tim. Can we submit a pre-proposal for a topic that doesn't fall under the targeted topics, specifically moisture control and window retrofits, but still falls under the broader topic of building performance?
Yeah, good question. That's the intent of our approach, is to have a broad topic that offers people the ability to submit ideas that may not fall under the more specific topics. So yeah, short answer is yes, submit it under the broader, energy efficiency and building performance topic.
Okay, so this is a general question for Andrea. Are non-DoD entities allowable as subcontractors or collaborators under DoD only topics if the DoD entity is the lead organization?
Yes, each solicitation, the private sector, DoD, and the non-DoD feds, that title applies to the lead of the proposal. But that lead of the proposal can craft their team in any way that they want. So a DoD-led proposal, the lead must be from the DoD, but they can have co-performers that are private entities. They can have a co-performer that is a other federal agency. If the DoD or another federal agency is leading the proposal, they will be expected to subcontract to the folks private sector who are proposed in the proposal, and then they will of course have to follow all the appropriate federal regulations for putting those subcontracts in place. Oh, Laura, can I add one thing?
Yes.
We had another question related to this as well, that if national labs can be partners, and they can. So a national lab will be included under the non-DoD federal organization.
Okay, and then we have another few that are just general, so I'll direct all these to you, Andrea, and let me know if I'm moving on to another person. For the innovative technology transfer topic area, must the technology have been developed under CERTIP funding, or can it also include technologies developed with support from the National Science Foundation or Army funding?
So specifically for that topic, it really does not have to be something that was developed under CERTIP or ESTCP to be applicable. It certainly has to be a technology that meets needs of the DoD, and that would help the DoD to meet their mission. So it definitely has to have that component, and you would be able to make the case for that in the pre-proposal. Likewise, I think there was a question as well in the list that was if an ESTCP proposed technology has to have been developed under CERTIP, and that is not the case either, that certainly technologies can come out of other research agencies.
Another general question, if a project involves a DoD co-performer, should we submit one or two pre-proposals?
Just one proposal. And, we've touched on this, that we do have a way it's really more of a funding issue in that case, and we do have a way to address that.
Okay, another general question, is DoD interested in projects that address multiple topics, or should they split into multiple proposals?
We prefer that the submitted proposal address one topic area. Don't try to put in one large proposal that's split over multiple topic areas. However, within a topic area, you can probably see that there might be multiple sub-objectives. Generally, you can address multiple sub-objectives within one topic area within your proposal, unless that is explicitly called out in the topic area to not do that. But I don't remember that any of them did that.
Yeah, this is a question for Tim, but it's a little long and there's maybe multiple questions included in here. So it's regarding the topic, digital tools for microgrid design, acquisition, and lifecycle management. So one, help us understand what digital twin transition looks like. Does the DoD intend to own and operate the digital twin developed? And then two, related, a sentence in the topic description states proposed digital tools need to have an actionable plan for integrating with existing DoD databases and model management tools and processes. How do we gain insight into those databases? Do we need to have insight into those DoD databases at the white paper stage?
Good question. So the first question about what does digital twin transition look like? That is a key question that we have going into this, and one that we hope that these demonstrations will help us understand. So we expect that there are some values that using these digital twins may offer, but we also understand that they come with a cost and are only useful probably if they are well maintained. And so that's part of what we're trying to understand. So I think it's a long answer to the question, but it's one that we are hoping to gain some insights on through this demonstration. So it might be that the digital twin is developed through the acquisition process, and at handoff, that is a part of the deliverable. So not only the physical microgrid, but also the digital representation, which also needs to be maintained in some way for it to be useful. So this is, like I said, we're not doing it currently, and we are hoping to learn, what would be required in order for that to be an effective transition. In terms of the comment about the needing an actionable plan for integrating with existing databases, I mean that's kind of related. And at the stage of the white paper, that's not necessary. Our intent is that for those projects that are selected, we will be providing a lot of that information and data in order to conduct the demonstration, which we would hope would provide us an example or useful demonstration on how these tools might integrate with our existing system. So in the white paper, maybe just speak generally on how you might expect them to work.
All right. A general question for Andrea. Are Canadian universities or businesses eligible for solicitation? If so, will non-US entities be evaluated separately or treated the same as US applicants?
Yes, Canadian entities are eligible to submit, as are entities from other countries. Everyone is evaluated together. There's no difference between the different submittals.
All right, this is a question for Kim. How do Certip and ESTCP develop the topic areas for each solicitation?
Thanks, Laura, for the question. So topic areas for ESTCP are determined by the Office of the Secretary of Defense. And these are based on departmental priorities and emerging needs. So our programs, in this case, ESTCP, is designed to align with those strategic objectives and address those critical challenges and ensure that we're developing capabilities for the department. So earlier on in the briefing, we talked about the different strategic documents. Those are just a handful, but that's how we develop those topic areas over.
All right, I'm not seeing more questions. Looks like we've got to most of them now. So Kim, would you like to, I guess, wrap up the webinar?
Sure. Well, thank you all for your time on this, what is a chilly afternoon here in the Mid-Atlantic. We certainly look forward to receiving your proposals. Thank you all for your time and attention, the great questions. And of course, thank you for everything that you're doing to support the Department of Defense with these efforts. Take care, y'all.